Steve, are you going to be grumpy today?
No, why?
Because you were
Am I
grumpy
ever
this
grumpy on this
weekend.
part?
You've been grumpy.
Yeah, we can talk about that if you want. I
I
was
don't want to be
grumpy.
like, you're generally grumpy. That's all I'll say.
I was grumpy at the end of the football game, as opposed to probably everybody else in the world. So yes.
Okay. Hopefully, by the end of this podcast, you will not be grumpy. That is the
I'm not grumpy
mission
now.
statement
I am
for today's
self-aware of.
episode.
I am self-aware of what my condition was at that time.
Okay. Grumpiness.
Right.
This podcast, which will not be grumpy at all because we had a great conversation called Stuff Summer Says with
Steve.
We had a great conversation with Leah Beasley, who is the Deputy Athletic Director for Strategic Engagement and Brand Advancement at Penn State. All of that means is she's involved in the brand and the experiences that you have, which is a perfect interview for this podcast that you've known to come and love, and hopefully you will enjoy that. And then we have a laundry list of things that I want to get to, including a list of lists, or well, just a one note on this list that forms into another list, which might appear in somebody else's list of demands.
I know where we're going. Okay, cool.
All right. So take a listen to our interview with Leah, and we'll be back after this. Steve, our guest today has, and I mean this politely, one of the longer titles I think I've seen at Penn State. So I'm going to ask her to explain what her title is. Our guest is Leah Beasley. Thank you for joining us, Leah. But what is your title? Because it's a little long. I think you'd even admit that, correct?
I actually don't know that I've used my full title in the last 2 months that I've worked for Penn State. So you guys are the first. Congratulations. Let me see if I can get it correct. Okay. Deputy Athletic Director over Strategic Advancement and Strategic Engagement and Brand Advancement. There we go.
Good job. Oh, there we go.
Well, at least you know the title. That's good.
There we go. There we go. This is going to be the best you've ever had.
This is amazing. Love this. No,
wait, do you have to move every once in a while so the office knows you're there? Is that what it is?
I sure do. It's kind
of. So this is the end of the day workout too. So good for you.
That's right. I mean, steps. It's good steps.
There we go. All right, Leah. So what is that role as a Penn State fan would see it, engage with it, know it?
Absolutely. I like to say that I get to have the most fun of my colleagues in the offices around me. So everything that you get to experience and you see and you feel and you touch, we always say external, but it's more of how are you taking in Penn State? How are you getting your information? How are you having a good time as a fan and as a student athlete? So our base is obviously our student athletes and our fans. If we are enhancing their experience, that is goal number one for us in the external side. And then also, how are we advancing our brand? And then how are we helping to raise money? Obviously, there are a lot of brilliant fundraisers here, but how are we, from a storytelling standpoint, helping to get the word out and then to help our fans want to invest more, whether it is time, buying tickets, sitting at our games, reading about our student athletes, how all of that is encompassing in my job. So, and of course you want to sprinkle some NIL in there as well. Can't forget about that.
Sprinkle, it's more than a sprinkle, right?
You're absolutely right. We are drowning in it right now in the best way possible,
For you, who is, so you played softball at Louisiana Tech, you worked at Mississippi State, and you were down in Norman in Oklahoma. For you, what was the Penn State brand before you took this job?
Big blue blood brand. So, and that was one of the reasons. It's a huge fan base, it's a huge alumni base, and you see it everywhere. It's global. So regardless of me growing up in the South, as you can probably hear, I've always known about Penn State. Now I've always followed sports my whole life. And in fact, I was a huge huge Pittsburgh Steelers fan because of Terry Bradshaw. So my mom actually taught him in college at Louisiana Tech. And I used to work with him a little bit in the summers on the golf tournament whenever I was at Louisiana Tech. So he's amazing, and I have some funny stories there, but we'll save that for a different podcast. But he obviously turned me on to being a Steelers fan, and my dad and I would watch the Steelers play so we could see Terry Bradshaw. So it's kind of a full circle moment to I always wanted to see him and kind of see where he came from with the Steelers, and now I can just drive up the street a little ways and check it out. But Penn State's always been a huge brand, and I'll be honest, like Pat Kraft is a huge reason why I'm here. So he has a great vision for Penn State athletics, and he's a good human, and so you kind of put those two together, and we're going to build something. He's already built something great here, and we're going to continue it. So I'm very thankful to be a big piece of it.
It's been a couple months. What have you learned that maybe you didn't know? And it doesn't feel like you have the luxury when people say, how go you a job, and you figure out the first year and the next year you hit your stride. It doesn't feel like someone in your role has that luxury. So I'm curious, how do you deal with that? How do you come in and be able to go at it, try to gauge the room and get stuff done?
I had to honestly to go back to why I'm doing it and the passion that I have behind sports, and just, you mentioned that I used to play ball. And so that's a piece of this whenever, because you're right, has been it's been wild, and I've never joined a job in the middle of football season before, especially at a level like Penn State. And it's always been, you have a little bit of time to amp up to the football season. Not to mention we have 31 sports here. So you want to give love to every sport. Yes, football is a driver, and I can say that hands down. But at the same time, we have a lot of successful sports here, and I was just loved wrestling on Friday night. Went then women's hockey, wrestling, men's hockey. It was amazing, and volleyball. Yesterday. So it's been incredible to see the elite level at which we play. And so there's no time to kind of figure it out, as you said, Steve. It really is just kind of harnessing the experience of the last 18, 19 years of my career, and really being able to use the resources that Penn State has, and the autonomy that Pat has given, and the incredible staff we have here, and just running with it. So I have enjoyed the stories. I've tried to meet as many people as I can and really understand what they feel that makes Penn State special, because I have my own view. But really seeing the people who have been here a while, it's pretty cool. And so I've watched some documentaries on Penn State. I've watched, the different Hard Knocks type of features, just so I can get more ingrained with things that I didn't know. And former players coming back. I met Marty in an elevator on the way to men's hockey. So just talking to him and understanding what the Penn State's brand means to everybody. And so that's pretty cool. So I think that again, I knew it was big. I don't think I knew how big until I got here, because the passion from those around me here in our working environment, but also the fans around that I've just run into on the street because I have a Penn State sweatshirt on, is insane. Or flying across the country, flying back home, and people are wanting to talk about Penn State. They know about Penn State, even though they've never been up to State College. So that's pretty cool. It just is how far reaching we are.
That's good. That was good. That was, see why they're paying you the big bucks. I think one of the questions I have for you is then kind of related to that. What was your first game day like? What was your first true, authentic experience in Penn State?
It was the Nova game. Yeah, it was the Nova game. I hadn't even moved here yet, and I think I had gotten in at, I don't know, a couple days before, and so I hadn't gotten my stuff. I didn't have a permanent residence. So, but the Nova game was my first game, and Nova football game, and it was just, the energy was electric. And again, that was where I met so many people on the sidelines, and just people wanting to talk about what the role was going to be, and what we're going to do next, and some of the fun ideas that we have. So it was exciting. And I definitely did take some notes about, what is the tradition of Penn State football in venue? Because obviously I've seen it on TV, but I had not been to Beaver Stadium. So there are things that, as a marketer by trade, I oversee a little more now than just marketing, but that's where I came from. And so what are some things that I know that I cannot touch? that I might get fired tomorrow if I try to touch? Or what are some things that I think the fan base would really appreciate from my background that I can hopefully pull in and do some different things that won't freak anybody out? That won't scare anybody off. So that's kind of was my first take is, wow, this is really big. This is awesome. I love it. And obviously coming from Oklahoma, I mean, that was, that's big time football too. And so it's not like I wasn't used to that, but obviously the stadium is a little bigger and the fan base is a little louder. So it was really cool to see. And then people are just, they're immersed in it. Everything is Penn State, and it's the show in town. Like, we are the show in town. So, with Oklahoma, you might be competing with some other, other entities, Oklahoma Thunder, City Thunder, but here it is Penn State. And that's what's really cool about this place too, is that, that the passion is clear. And so I'm trying to figure out ways to just highlight that. Penn State already has the foundation. So what can I do? What can our team do to really highlight that and take it to the next level to make our Penn Staters even more proud?
What
Go ahead, Darian.
what have you noticed that are quote unquote the untouchables? We actually just debated this last week of like, what is untouchable in the game day experience presentation process.
So there are the third downs. Everybody kind of has their shtick for the third downs, and so we have some music that we play there. So we're kind of, how are we going to tweak that a little bit? The third and fourth quarter break, which I would love your input on this. Not right now, but
she's definitely read our articles.
Yeah, okay, good. We wanna figure that out. So that's not an untouchable, by the way. That is very much untouchable. Yes,
big news,
we want
everyone.
Good. Yes. I heard it. Look, you heard it here first. So we have been, this year I didn't want to come in the middle of the season and kind of blow some things up, because again, Penn State does it right. But what are some ways we can do? So that's one area that I see that we can adjust. But the iconic, and I would never want to touch this, but the iconic moment of the team coming down the tunnel, opening the gates, the Lions right there, head coach leading out the team, that's something that we're not going to touch. Now, I will tell you, we're going to add a little to it next year. So we almost pulled it off this year, but again, we didn't want to do too much in the middle of a season, because we do believe it's important for the guys, the players, to have consistency. And so, but we'll look at that. Again, heard it here first. We'll look at that for the beginning of next season.
Look at you, Darian. She's got you for the third quarter, and I can complain about the team entering the field.
There we go.
Or the moments before the team enters the field. We can help her out in both those things.
Yes. Yes.
Leah, how do you, when you're in venue, go ahead.
To that point, and I want your listeners to hear this. Like, I am an open book. Like, my email's out there, my cell phone's on my email whenever you email me. So I want our team, not just but our team wants feedback. So we want to make the experience the best that it can possibly be for the student athletes first and foremost, and then for the fans who are investing in us. If we don't have student athletes, we don't have a fan base. So, but the rest is, we want to hear it. We want to know, and we want to make adjustments accordingly to make sure that it's the best that we can be. So,
when did you stop watching games? I mean, you're in venue all the time.
Yeah.
I had my class at the Rec Hall women's basketball game, and I saw you working the laser folks and talking to Pat and going around and trying to check out. And that's, in my mind, what that job entails. But when did you stop watching games? Because you're there, but you're not watching the game if you're doing your job, right?
I would say in 2006, whenever I actually worked my first game by myself, pretty much running the show at Louisiana Tech. So that was it. I was an athlete before then, but I used to go with my teammates and my peers to games and would watch those. I had no idea what I was going to do at that point in time in my life, but was given a great opportunity by the athletic director at La Tech at the time, and that was it. I learned that you don't get to, you miss stuff if you're now. Granted, there are definitely times, especially at away games, like I get to watch a little bit more at away games. I was at Michigan State this past weekend, so I was taking some pictures of the video board and taking some notes about music and things. But mainly it's still, you're never a fan, but I wouldn't have it any other way, because to me, I want to eat, sleep, breathe it, because our fan base does, and our student athletes do. Our student athletes don't turn off at night and put their stuff away, and they're continuing to grind on what is going to make them better for Penn State. Our fan base, you guys are taking in constant information on on our players and what makes us great. And so I'm not going to turn it off either.
Makes sense. You mentioned football, and we've talked a lot about football, but there are 30 other sports on campus. For you, how do you help those teams and help those fans that are going to those games kind of differentiate the experience, and maybe even, lack of a better way of saying it, like find their voice in that experience?
For me, I think it's about the feedback. I know I mentioned earlier, kind of trying to find that feedback. So I've met with a few of our coaches. I have not gotten through our list yet. That is a one thing I did tell them in our head coaches meeting is I want to meet with all of you. So I want to know from our coaches' perspective. I will also meet with the teams. I've done that at every school I've been to. I've met every year with each team to try to say, especially the newer folks, is when you're coming in, what kind of like what you asked me, what do you think of Penn State? What makes it special? And then what is your sport? Like what is unique to your sport? Again, you saw like wrestling on Friday night was a completely different experience than a wrestling experience that I've had in the past. And so it is special. There are pieces of it that it was, oh, it was a light that was very different. And so I wanted to ask those questions of, why are we a little bit different here? I'll be honest, it was a little quiet during the actual competition. And then it got really loud, whenever the student athlete would win and then coming in and off the mat. But that's not what I was used to. So is that where we need to leave it? Do we need to do something different? And that is the fan base. That's kind of what they expect. It's reverent. It's almost a reverent experience. So, but in soccer, we want more. We want loud all the time, and like, can you bring the drum line in? What are the things that we can do? We know we have to be cautious of our finances. That's anywhere. That's not for anything else going on, but that's every single, we are in a rev share environment. And so we're having to find dollars in unique ways and then also reallocate dollars in other ways that it might be a little bit of a pinch on some sports. So what can we do to hopefully, from an external standpoint, help them not feel that pinch? So I'll ask our coaches, what are the most, like, what are your top 3 things that we cannot change that you want to do? How can our team help you do that? And a lot of it is stuff that's just going out and talking to people and getting them in the stands, giving them access, giving them more content. So a lot of that stuff is free. So those are the things that our team can hopefully help with. And that's kind of where I start is, what do the student athletes want to see? What do the coaches want to see? And then we'll be doing some more fan surveys to kind of try to help me understand where we need to allocate more resources from an external standpoint and what our fan base wants to. So it's a lot of listening and gaining feedback.
This Saturday for football, jumping back now to the big one, some people would perceive this as a challenge this Saturday night game. Students are leaving town. Do you perceive it as a challenge in any way, or is it different from a game in any other way? Or I mean, our fans will show up because they show up,
Yes.
But it is different just a little bit in some way.
It's prime time, baby. Like, it's prime time. And so if you saw our post today, that's under the lights, it's prime time. That's our sales pitch. And that to me should get everybody juiced. So yes, is it a night game on a near break? Our students are, a lot of them are going home, but it is a night game at Beaver Stadium. So what else could you ask for? And what we are hoping to accomplish is FOMO and the fear of missing out. We try to show you what you would miss if you weren't in the stadium. We want the whoever's in the stands to text their buddy and say, man, you missed this moment. You missed this part. And that's our job, is to make sure that our fan base is like, oh my gosh, I wish I was there, or I can't miss this because it's a night game in Beaver Stadium. You don't get a lot of that. A lot of teams don't get a lot of that prime time under the lights, but we do. And it's nationally televised. So, which again, all of them are, but it's the big boys. And so what can we showcase? It's about having pride in Penn State and showing the world that we are worth watching, and we're going to fill our stands no matter what year it is, no matter what time of the year it is, if we're on break or if it's cold or whatever it may be, we are going to show up. So that's kind of the message that we're trying to send from an external standpoint.
You said you're a marketer at heart, a sports marketer. Was there a moment or an experience you had as a fan that you were like, okay, this I want to be able to help people experience this or do this? Was there an experience like that for you?
There was. I wouldn't say it was like an aha moment. I think it was a collection of those whenever I played, actually. It wasn't ever as a fan, but whenever I played, and I remember I should have probably been paying more attention in the outfield, but I was an outfielder for La Tech. And I would look in and I'm like, man, where are all the people? Like some days we would have, a lot of fans in the stands and it felt really good to be supported. And then some days whenever, we thought it was going to be a great game, a great day, then we don't have as many in the stands. But we didn't take off we didn't take off an hour for weightlifting or running or conditioning. We still put that time in. And so in our minds, in my very naive young brain of 18 years old, I'm like, where is everybody? Like, why aren't they coming to support us? And so to me, that was, and I didn't know, and I got kind of thrown into sports marketing. I didn't even know what that term was. Like I did get a business degree. There was not a sports marketing major or minor at the time, but it was, I just thought back to what I would appreciate as a student athlete. And we wanted support. We wanted people to come and support us for how we represented Louisiana Tech. And so that's kind of the same thing that we're trying to educate our student athletes on, not only on the field, but we can't control the wins and losses, but we can control how we present them. We can control how we present Penn State from a branding perspective. And then we can help educate them on how to hopefully pull the fan base towards us and kind of into our circle. But that was my moment of, I want to, I want to get more people involved in our sports and watching us. And yes, it was from that time, it was like a women's sports thing too. That was big for me too, is I was like, man, we have so many people going to our men's sports, going to baseball and football and men's basketball. Where's the fan base for the women's sports? We're working just as hard. So that's been a passion of mine too. Is just trying to build that up. And as you guys know, women's sports has just grown tremendously. And here, my gosh, we have, women's soccer, women's hockey is like what, 18-0. I mean, it's wild. Like they're 13-0, the undefeated team in the country, the only undefeated team. Women's volleyball, like just so many stellar women's programs. So again, that's another point that makes Penn State special.
Thank you.
For you, how are you involved with Roar Plus? How are you helping not only fans kind of maximize that, but the student athletes maximize that?
Absolutely. So whenever I came in, and again, this is something that, we have talked about it at length here. So one, just trying to wrap my arms around what is our goal of Roar Plus, and we did. I think we, and again, talking to lots of people, so I do feel like I can say this out loud. I think we tried to run before we crawled. So we're trying to do a little bit of a reset now, and while we are still giving value to our members and to our subscribers through really good content. Like if you guys go, I mean, it's such good content. It really is. And we are, but I think that we have a little bit of dilution in the marketplace. We have some different entities who are doing some similar things that work with us, and they are our best friends. I mean, they are, they're very close with Penn State because everybody wants to tell our story, which is amazing. So what I'm trying to do is work with our team to be a little bit more efficient and streamline kind of what is our lane. And then how can we work with some of our other partners to kind of help amplify their lane and our lane, and that it benefits the athlete. So one place to start is athlete education. And if we want a student athlete, like Roar Plus, it's founded on student athlete driven content. However, what if they don't know? I would not have known, what to do at that age. So we have the Brand Academy in place. We have our Roar Plus experts. We have LeVar Arrington and his team. So all of us are trying to build this platform of education first. That's what we're doing right now, is showing them how, and that giving them the tools. We have a studio here that we try to help them kind of have those resources, because a lot of them don't at their apartment or their house. And so we're trying to educate that first, and then allow them to use our resources and our expertise, our team's expertise, to then showcase their own achievements and their own desires to kind of put their storytelling out there. So that's kind of where we're going now. And then we're actually going to add some facets to it that will hopefully be a lot more value add. I can't tell you those yet because we're gonna come out with them, but there's some different membership exclusives and benefits that we're going to be releasing here pretty soon that will also help add value to the membership. But if you forget everything else, Roar Plus is about student-driven content, and then also it is a mechanism by which we can help our student athletes monetize their NIL, period. I mean, that is another mechanism by which we can do that. And I know NIL has there is, a connotation around that. But if you are in it, and that's is what my job is, we're hopefully trying to tell these stories, but there are so many athletes that NIL has saved their life. It saved their families' lives. And so those are the stories that we're trying to gather and to tell more of, so that people understand that this is a good thing and that we are, there are challenges, of course, but we want to tell those stories that this is helping our student athletes accomplish things that they may not have been able to accomplish before without being able to monetize that. And it's doing it hopefully in an organized way. So that's where we're trying to get.
That's fair. All right, we have one tough question for you before you go. Have you been to the creamery yet? And have you decided on what your favorite flavor is?
Oh my gosh. So the first time I went, I spent $67, like $67 on ice cream. So, and it's all gone, by the way. I have gone back since then. And it's really tough. Thon is probably, I'm a chocolate lover, so Thon is probably my jam. But I love the peanut butter. There was I forgot all the flavors, but I have probably had 5 or 6.
Okay. I appreciate that you're not just like picking one and
jumping in
yeah,
first,
yeah,
man. You got to figure it out. That's the only way to do it.
I just got it all. And I also got like their eggs and their milk. I mean, I went all in. But 67 of ice cream alone, and then the other stuff.
That's fair. No, that's fair. Good. All right, Leah. Your moment to plug. What should people be looking forward? I mean, obviously, it's a giant ecosphere of content, but what
it really is.
Be looking.
Yeah. So honestly, I would please go and follow our accounts. We have a very talented team. So when I say our accounts, we are across Twitter, X, Instagram, Facebook, and we dabble in some TikToks as well. But it is each team has their own account. It's we have the Go PSU and the Beaver Stadium accounts too, but it's Penn State, and then it's the sport name. So those sports are going to be so in tune to what our coaches and our student athletes are doing. So I really do urge our fans to visit that, and then obviously our website too. That kind of keeps you up to date. And then Roar Plus is a huge piece. So download the Roar Plus app. Go and follow our socials on Roar Plus, and you're going to see some pretty cool content, as well as some exclusives coming out. We have some big things dropping here pretty soon, so I won't even hint to that, but you know what they are. So we're hoping to really leverage a lot of our talent to kind of really tell those stories across all of our platforms. So every team is special, every team is unique, and we would love to get some more followers across the board and engage. Show us some likes, give us some comments. I think our student athletes do look at that, and I think it means a lot to them whenever the fan base reaches out in a positive manner.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Steve. We begin with the biggest news of that podcast interview. Leah is assessing the experience between the third and fourth quarter. That was the big, she hit several things that are big storylines for us. She hit your pregame intro. She hit wrestling. You can, if you go back, you can see Steve and I smirking at each other when she brought that up. I appreciate, I love, I feel optimistic that at least Penn State is aware. That's my take.
I think what I got from it, and there's a Penn Stater thing, and I think it happens at all schools, right? You have an alumni job, and why can't they have a person for this that's from your school? Why does it have to be somebody from someplace different? I think somebody coming from the outside to look at this job in a time when change matters, as much as I may fight it in certain instances, as other people may fight it in certain instances, someone from the outside to really look at it that has different experiences, probably going to be able to put the athletic department in a position to succeed. Now, it might be a position to monetize some stuff I don't want them to monetize personally, but that's that look you need to take at the program. You need to say, well, what do you do this? Why do you do this? How can we do it better? How can we do it differently? So I think that's one of the big upsides. And again, her background as a student athlete, for at least it's the DNA of what athletics says they're doing, with the student athlete at the core of what they do. So agree or disagree, it's still in line with what they're doing.
I thought that was actually the most impressive part of that interview, was when you asked her about her experience as a student athlete and her aha moment. And I thought, to me, I think that that's really important. And I think the other aspect that she added on to that is the fact that we are seeing this big boom in women's sports, and Penn State would be sorely missed to not capitalize, to not advance that, not celebrate that. And I think that's really refreshing to hear, because I do feel like at times, and we see this even with some other men's sports, but at times women's volleyball probably doesn't get put on the pedestal that it should for what consistent success it is. It's small right now, but there is a thriving a big opportunity with what women's basketball, for how popular high school girls basketball is in the state of Pennsylvania, could turn into and could be. And I do think, I have said this time and time again, women's hockey is the biggest sleeping giant on campus. It really, to me, is. And tapping in and growing the support for that, I think having a lens or an eye towards that is great. I think that is a great, solid move from both Leah and just from Penn State in general. So, I appreciated Leah's conversation. Appreciated her authenticity there. I thought that was great.
Nope, glad she made time. Her listening makes sense. She'll hear a lot of stuff that's contradictory, a lot of stuff that's support. I mean, this many fans, this many people she works with, she's going to have to weed through some stuff that's different and make decisions. But it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah. All right. We've got a list of topics to talk about. I'll talk about the game first. I felt like I enjoyed Saturday's game because, as I said in the blog this week, it was the first time all season that we've been able to enjoy the present. And I was thinking about this, like we literally thought about the future from the second that Drew Aller threw an interception against Miami, or in Miami, to the second that James Franklin got fired, to all the way up until that game. There had not been a moment of present. There was only looking future or looking past and wondering what the hell went wrong. And I thought that above all else was so nice and so refreshing. And I thought it continued today, even a little bit with Terry Smith's press conference. But I also thought, in a lot of ways, like, I know that Michigan State team was not good, and I know particularly in the third quarter, Penn State kind of bumbled around there. But man, it's funny how things work when you start leaning into things that are working and not get away from them, like running the ball 13 times. Like, that was one of the best drives I've seen in a long time from Penn State, at least this season by far. I'm certain of that. I thought all around, I thought that was big. We can get into the next weekend's game too, but I think now it also adds a little bit of excitement to the season, particularly around Katron Allen, and if he can get the record. I thought that performance, it was cool to see him get that performance to set up what could be this weekend.
Yeah, and I think the present summary and talking about it, all the things that the season wasn't at different times because it was focused on other stuff, it has kind of boiled down to just, we got to do what's in front of us. And whether they lost focus on that or whether the fans lost focus on that, probably everybody, it was different in that way. And it was better because of it. It was a football game. It was a focused effort, like I said, for all the reasons that Michigan State might not be super, for the challenges Penn State had at times during the game, but it's just simply that. And I think that makes Saturday kind of simply that too. I mean, yeah, Matt Rule's back. Yeah, it's at night, prime time on the lights, nation watching, but they just got to play the game. And I think if they just stay in the moment, stay present, just playing, bounding this team together, there could probably be positive things, and you have something to be proud of when you're done with it. Something to have you accomplished. I was going to say something to look forward to the following week, but then I'm getting us out of the present, so I won't say that.
Well, but then that's also Rutgers week, and still Rutgers. No, I just thought, that was an enjoyable experience. It was nice to be able to see that, and I think particularly obviously the fact that the ultimate goal for this season is long off the table. It is shattered into 1,000 pieces, maybe 9 million pieces, some might say, and I think that at least take a moment to celebrate and enjoy that. And I hope that that's also kind of what the air of Saturday's like. I think from that perspective, I think that's the big storyline. I think also with Saturday, I mean, the fact that the rushing record is on the line on Saturday is something not to let, like, I don't think it should be glossed over. Like, this means that Katron Allen would become the at least from a statistical standpoint, the greatest rusher in Penn State history, at least on a statistical basis. Not, I don't think he's the best running back in Penn State history for a lot of other reasons, but I just think that that's cool. And it's, I mean, Royster was what, 2006 ish? Like this opportunity doesn't come around. So I hope that Penn State finds a way to celebrate that, and hopefully they make it happen at home, because I think that would be cool. I think that would be a neat moment. I hope that in stadium they capitalize on that and draw attention to that. I think when Sean Clifford broke a couple records, or either Sean or Trace broke a couple records, they acknowledged it in the stadium. But I think that would be neat. I do think, going back to the point, I don't know if I love the fact that the Big Ten, a week out, it's like, oh, by the way, we're giving you a night game. Like, I don't know, it just doesn't seem right for the logistical hurdles of being a fan at Penn State. Not even aside from the fact that it is the weekend going into fall break.
I'm gonna channel Leah here, and say that it's really not a heavy lift. Well, she wouldn't say this, so I'll be grumpy, Leah. Sorry.
Okay.
This game has been on your schedule for a year.
No, it's fair.
You knew it was this day. You have one thing to do. You have a couple things to do to train. They didn't give up lifting sessions to show up for this game. They didn't give up practices for this game. They're still showing up. All people have to do is drive and show up. And I get it. I am the most fair weather fan that's going to be in that stadium on Saturday night. No lie. Right. Like, they're just. But I will never complain about. I mean, the 6-day window isn't great for a lot of reasons. But you signed up to take the money as Penn State in the Big Ten. This is part of the deal. It happens once a year. Would you feel differently if it was a noon game?
I think there's two sides of this.
Okay.
There's the corporate Penn State side. And then there is the fan aspect.
Oh, yeah.
Because
I agree.
I could understand why, if you were somebody that lived in Lancaster, Harrisburg area, you would not come to this game this weekend simply because you didn't think that you were going to need a hotel. Now, I do think, to your benefit, that there are, but I do think that, like, that's what makes it a little inconvenient. I would much rather, what I like about the SEC system is they give you, before the season, they say this game can be in the late afternoon window or the early afternoon window. Some type of inclination direction for a fan. I think that would be fine. I don't think corporate Penn State should complain about it at all, because I think, to Leah's point, it's a showcase. Like, I don't know that there's that much interesting on this weekend, because it's SEC's. A lot of the SEC schools are playing the Little Sisters of the Poor. Like, I think that in terms of, like, or not must watch TV, it's not necessarily must watch TV, but it will be a game that is far more watched than it had it been on noon on BTN for certain, and probably slightly better attended. But I'll
give you that differentiation.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a different, but at the same time, you got 7 of these.
No,
7 a year.
Correct.
So, I mean, my first reaction was, I'm out, right? You texted me what time it was. I'm like, well, so much for me. But then the more I thought about it, you only get a couple of these. You only get 7. Well, I only get a couple of them because I'm only going in a couple times. And then back to Katron. It reminds me of 2003. This is Larry Johnson going for 2,000 yards in 2003. And I remember being in that stadium for that game. And it was, they acknowledged it. People knew it was fun, right? Like, and he's still the running back that's got the most cheated out of the Heisman Trophy in my lifetime, because he rushed for 2,003 yards in the Big Ten with nobody in front of him who was named all conference. If that would have been an Ohio State guy, they might have made him governor of Ohio and given him the Heisman Trophy.
Well, his dad almost wanted to be the governor.
That's
of
true.
Ohio.
That's true.
No, I think that it's funny you say that, because that was exactly what I was thinking about. Because I do remember that build up. I remember that experience to that game, or that run up to that game. That was Michigan State weekend. My cousin Jimmy flew up from Texas and did not have a winter coat for that game. I didn't get to go to that game. Jimmy took the ticket. He didn't even have a winter coat for that game.
Too bad he didn't take a coat.
And he needed a coat. But like I think that I don't know. I think there's been so much not crying over soured milk, because I don't think there's really all of the milk is correctly soured. But I think back to being in the present, picking and choosing and finding these little moments are a lot of fun, because if it happens on Saturday night, you are going to be able to say, I was there when Katron Allen broke the career rushing record. And I weirdly think that of all of the Penn State records that there are, I think that one means the most. Would you agree? I mean, and maybe that's literally because of the visual indication of it being on the stairs at the student bookstore. But I think that one means the most.
Yeah, it's what Penn State is. It's DNA, right? That's why they ran 13 times on that drive. So yeah, I think so. I think that's you don't have a statistic like that for linebackers. Okay. So yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay.
Plus, it's going to be everybody's rallied around Terry Smith. This is his chance to win a home game, right? It's his
that's true.
Only chance this season to win a home game. So if you like that storyline and that arc and the education that the family got and his father and his son going, I mean, yeah, it's there too.
I want to hit on those two press conference answers, because I thought the one about the follow up was actually the better answer as opposed to the text message one, which was the one that broke him. But just like the stark contrast in the authenticity or the genuineness that we got there, and even some of the things he was saying about like certain players and stuff, just to me, like, I don't think I just would be highly doubtful that he's going to be the next guy. I think he's going to be around, and I think he made that crystal clear today that he wants to be around. But I feel like, just like, for a meh situation, what a perfect person to kind of be like, and you could tell, like, you could legitimately tell, like, how much that meant to him, and like you could kind of put yourself into the shoes of like, man, like oh, this is cool. Like Penn State did, like I did all of this for Penn State, and Penn State did something back for me, and I thought that was a neat outcome for him.
Yeah, it was. People keep pointing to authentic. It's that connection. As much as an outside person can come in and do Leah's job, and that perspective helps and it matters. Terry Smith being a lifelong Penn Stater, having played, having assistant coaches for so many years, it's like an SEC moment. It just means more for him. He just, it's in his DNA.
That's fair. Let's go to the ACC. Big news of the day. James Franklin is off to Virginia Tech. I am not surprised. I'm a little confused because the direct descendant of his coaching tree was Brent Pry, who just got fired from that job. And if you want to know how he's going to run the program, just look at the way Brent Pry is. But I do think it's James Franklin, and he's going to do better. All of that to say, it's kind of an annoying spot, but that's about it. Like, I'm not like annoyed. I'm not mad. Somebody else's problem now,
Oh, it's the best possible place he could be. It's the best job out there for him. It's the best match for an institution with him. He can have the most benefit there as opposed to someplace else. He's got a longer timeline, not a super long timeline, but he's got longer here than he'd have at some SEC school. I'm happy for him. He said he was going to coach next year. You knew it was going to be somewhere. This is the best place for him, and it's great and we've talked about this. I think it's the best part from a Penn State media perspective too, because it allows somebody who, if they're doing their work already, has looked at schedules for next season to figure out what Virginia Tech game they're going to go down to on a Penn State off week and write the James Franklin story.
I think the funniest part is the fact that Mike Locksley was probably like, yes, I don't have to play James Franklin anymore. And guess who their third game of the season is.
Yep.
Real quick, I do want to pull up this quick stat here. Hold on. I do want to let you know that the runway at Roanoke Blacksburg Airport is 6,800 feet, and the one at State College regional airport is 6,700 feet. So just keep that in mind, folks. So
maybe that makes a difference. They only got to go to Cal. They got to go to Berkeley. So to me, this is Penn State 2.0, realistically, and that's why it's so good.
Yeah,
he gets to talk a couple years about alignment. They've invested some money. He gets to make the airport speech if he wants. He gets to talk about people being in it all together. They're going to be thrilled if they get 8 wins the first season. And maybe those are there. They'll get 7 or maybe 7 wins is there. Looking at their schedule, or depending who goes along with them. And then he works on it and he gets to 10 or so. And it's, again, the biggest challenge is if the ACC exists in 5 years and in what format it exists.
I am interested to see how it plays out does he stay there? I don't think he will be there the length of his own contract, but I don't think it's because he will get fired. I think it's because he will take one final swing at an SEC school. Or I don't know if he's coming back to the Big Ten, but I could maybe see him. I don't know if there's a school that's a good fit for him in the Big Ten besides Penn State, honestly.
No, but that is what you get in this deal for Virginia Tech. I mean, if this is Penn State 2.0, maybe not the first season, but the second, third season, you get checking out other jobs. You get the agent trying to connect him with someplace else, and you get offended because your team was halfway decent, and now he's acting like he's leaving. I think that does come with this story as well.
I think so too. Okay. We'll talk about that some other time, James Franklin. I'm sure again.
Happy for him.
Yeah, I legitimately am happy for him. I think, like you said, I think that's a good spot. I think it's an interesting spot. It's going to be a mildly annoying spot, just like a little itchy spot, and that's for Penn State, and I think that's about it. Okay, I texted you something over the weekend, and you were like, "We got to put this on the rundown." And I don't even know what made me think about this. I think I was just like reading, as one does on the weekends. I was reading some coaching contracts. I was thinking about the fact that like this is a time when new contracts could come up, and then I was like, everybody keeps saying that they're going to have to get creative in terms of all. This might be a big contract for changing the landscape of college football because they might get creative. I then texted you this idea, and you were like, "We got to put this on there," and I now want to go through my 3 clauses that I want on this contract.
Okay.
Did you prepare any, or are you just going to respond?
I have a couple now that I'm thinking of, but I want to hear where you went, because I kind of gave up. When I first started, they were all going to be charitable, and that wasn't what I wanted to do. So let me hear where you're going, and I'll play off.
I think you will like mine. I really do.
Okay.
The first and foremost one that I texted you about was the coach should get some sort of incentive bonus for generating a Heisman Trophy winner. For the lineage of Penn State football, for the history of Penn State football, for where it is nationally, which I would consider it to be a top 12 program, even regardless of the current situation. 1 Heisman Trophy winner, of course, John Cappelletti. The book is back here somewhere. To me, that feels very surprising. And obviously, like, Travis Hunter is a good example of this. Winning a Heisman does not necessarily equal team success. But I think that is also a measure of how well you are developing, recruiting, and holding on to talent. So I that would be one of my
well, and in terms of a brand and NIL, what could be more compelling than having somebody win the most coveted award in college sports?
Right.
So I think that as an incentive clause makes sense.
Okay.
Would there be any other awards that no other college football awards rise that level, like Lombardi? Because there's just so many of them.
No,
but there's not a secondary. This the Heisman. I mean, I don't, because then it gets cluttered. So
right, I think it is crystal clear Heisman Trophy winner. Like you have to, and it's not get invited because Kerry Collins was invited, LJ was invited. Like there's been
so not even like 25,000 for somebody going to New York.
No.
Okay, just checking.
Like Tyler Warren wouldn't count. Like I would not count Tyler Warren finish 7th counting.
Oh no, not 7th for sure. No.
So there's that one. I would like there to be in some sort of, and this is just to shut a lot of people up, some sort of grade-based incentive, APR-based incentive, so that we can still say we are prioritizing education. Half of it is to shut people up. Half of it is the fact that I want to make sure that team that I am cheering on, which are collegiate student athletes at the end of the day, even if they are being paid lots of money, are still able to leverage an education out of this. And when their 3-year NFL career is over, they have some sort of backup plan.
Also a good clause.
So I have that one in here.
2 for 2. Last one.
The third one I put in here. This one is a little difficult because, to your broader point, Penn Staters always show up. But I want some sort of attendance clause in there of like, if you can get Beavers, create a football team that keeps Beaver Stadium at 107,000. Let's say like that's the average, or that's the every game. Like for every game you go above 107,000, here's $5,000. And you know what? Maybe to your point, Steve, because I know you get fired up by this. Maybe they can donate it to a local charity. But that would just be like some sort of attendance based incentive in this contract.
Not that person's job, but I'm okay with the clause. I think the only challenge with that clause is, are they going to use the real numbers? I mean, if I'm the coach, are you using tickets sold, or are you going to give me the scan numbers the day of?
No, I want the scan numbers. I want the scan, because, and I disagree with you, because if you're a bad coach, less people are going to show up.
I think people. If I'm the coach, I want the real numbers, not you eyeballing something up and saying this was sold and this is whatever.
Okay.
I mean, because it incentivizes the coach to connect with the fan base in a way that seems genuine. Be a little vulnerable so they come to support you because they care about you too, along with the student athletes or players, whatever the word is today.
All right, those are my 3.
Those are good. I would have done GPA. I would have done some charitable thing, but that feels like it's forcing them on it.
Yeah. No, I want that to be I want that to be you doing that. Like you just being a good person. You're making millions of dollars.
Right. And that's, I mean, I thought about, as we were talking about, some kind of student, like back to teaching thing, but that dilutes what they're there for. They are there to coach the football team and win games. So I think I'll just stick with your clauses and not throw out anything else out there.
Okay. Just think about that.
Those are very good.
There's any others? No, those were the 3 I came up with.
I mean, there could be some. There could be some fun do nots, like don't ever use Ohio State, refer to them to the school out west, but they're not yours to deal with, right? That's not yours to deal. That's just silly, right? Because when I started thinking through, I'm like, these are just silliness. I need this person to win games, but the GPA, the attendance, and the first one was the Heisman, all makes sense to me.
Because I had thought about we'll give you an incentive for winning 11 games, but if you win 11 games, you're going to get the incentive for going to the playoff. No 11-1 team is going to miss the playoff. I guess maybe an undefeated season would be another one, but then you got 2026.
Right. Well, the undefeated season will be in there. Conference championship will be in there. Big Ten conference championship will be in there. National championship will be in there. Double-digit wins could be in there, depending on how the agent gets it figured out.
But Steve, they're paid to win 3 games.
That's it. Trust me. I know the guy who says that, and he's right.
Yeah.
So,
I think my other hot take on contracts right now, and I was talking about this today, and John Sauber reported that it's only going to be $9 million for Franklin's buyout out of Penn State's pocket. Man, it would be nice to have some open record laws around the contract, or just get the full contract as opposed to the term sheet.
Yes, but I mean, will they get? It's been a decade. I will be interested to see what gets shared when that happens, because when O'Brien started, it was post Sandusky. Everything was about, we're going to tell you what's going on, and they doled out the term sheet and made sure everybody had it, and they were going to do that for football and men's and women's basketball. At the time, they named 3 sports that they were going to do that with going forward. I don't think that happened going forward.
They had James's. You had James's, and I think I don't remember about the basketball ones, but they that was the thing with the Chambers, because he signed an extension, but they never announced they announced the extension, but they never gave the term or something like that.
Okay.
And the other one that I was thinking about related to that, they did just change Franklin's contract when the playoff expanded, so that he got some sort of incentive off of that. But I think more so what I'm saying here is that would have changed the conversation greatly around James Franklin and the buyout, had we known that there was a
Right.
offsetting clause, because we did not
Right.
know that. We like somebody had to go, I think it was Audrey maybe, had to go report that to get that. Whereas you look at Indiana, and that was in Signetti's like plain as day contract that anybody can go look up right now.
Before, along with clauses, this is separate, but in terms of incentives, where are you on the well, they should just incentivize the wins, period. Like, they're going to give them $3 million and every win is worth another $500,000.
Like give them a low base
Here's
salary.
the base salary.
Earn I would, and I think it does work like this just based on things I've read, but like I would be more interested in, okay, we're going to give you 50 million over 5 years, right? Or we're going to give you 35 million and 15 million of that goes to NIL. Or like this is your NIL, like being transparent about that.
Cool.
Because now that like Knowles and Kotelnicki have started to make enough, they start showing up in that annual report every year of how much they make. I don't know that he even really, but like, kind of case in point, the Knowles thing kind of backfiring a little bit. Like, I don't know that I care all that much about what the assistant coaches are making. I would rather, again, I think this is the area where Penn State needs better transparency. I think all of college sports needs it, is what is in the war chest in terms of NIL. What is, kind of going back to what we talked about around when Franklin got fired, like there were two stories. There was the national story of Penn State has more money than God, and then there was the local story of Penn State literally needs pennies.
That would help frame expectations.
Yes,
both for football and or even basketball. Hey, your NIL is only a couple $1 million. Well, how the heck are you going to win with that if everybody else is? It would frame expectations and allow you to better tell your story to benefit the athletes or get contributions when the time comes, because there's the number.
No, I agree with that. Okay, we had a bunch of topics there. We have old guy, young guy.
We were struggling for old guy, young guy. So I asked Darian, hey, we're both old enough to have been to bars and perhaps underage. And I said, so I'm asking, do you remember the first time you were in a bar underage, or is there a story?
I don't know how, you know that I'm from Altoona, and I don't know how to explain this, but like, you don't eat if you don't go into a bar. In part because that's where all the food in Altoona is. Okay. I remember going to the Gingerbread Man, which was right at the Pleasant Valley Boulevard and Logan Boulevard area, I think. Pleasant Valley Boulevard, which was where Uno's is, if you're in the CVS's, and we went there all the time.
But that's a restaurant. That's not like...
Well, to be fair...
you weren't going to Dives to eat,
yeah,
or were you?
To be fair, like, the tech around fake IDs made it very clear not to get one in State College. So it was not like you could get in, unlike back in your day, which they were just paper probably and very easy to be forged or sneak in.
I didn't have a fake ID. My only underage experience in a bar happened when I was working for the minor league baseball team in Williamsport. And after a game one night, they're like, oh, Steve, come out with us. Let's go out with some guys. I'm 18. Like, I can't get into, we can get you to this bar. We know everybody. So we go into the bar, the Old Corner Hotel, which was actually owned by family friends. And the bouncer check-in person was like, there's no way that guy's 18. And they weren't going to let me in. And behind the bouncer guy, check-in person, stands up this guy, and it's big dude. And he's a cop in Williamsport. He's a cop in the town. And I know he's a cop in the town because he's my cousin. And he comes over to me and he's like, I know you are not 21. He said, I told them to let you in. If anything happens, I'm going to be on your ass and I'm going to tell your mother. And that was enough to just keep me up. They're like, what do you want to drink? I'm like, I'll have a Coke. Just a Coke, please. Right? So, but he stood up. I'm like, of all the places in the world to go into a bar, you go in where your cousin is the cop off duty and there. So,
no, yeah. There was one friend that had a fake ID. He got into one bar the one night, decided to test it at another bar, which I think was the first he tested it at, and they just took it immediately. They said, nope, you can't come back in here.
Yeah, this town, I wouldn't try to do that in this town. Anyway.
Yeah, no. So, anyways, that was this week's podcast. That was a fun one. Thank you to Leah for joining us. We'll have a game preview. I might do one thing I've been noodling on quite literally all season. Nothing in big, major there. We might have some extended thoughts on the coaching contract situation, because once next week comes, and next week's Thanksgiving, which is also wild to say, like this is gonna hit 0 to 60 real quick. There's a good chance that the Rutgers recap episode also has to be a conversation about who Penn State hired, or maybe not. I don't know.
Be.
As the world turns, as Penn State turns.
True.
So there's that. Anything coming from you?
I think I just workshopped during this show. Maybe a fair weather fandom story.
Oh, there it is. That's right. Oh, that's right. You will hit your over this weekend, right? This will be your third game.
Yeah, I'll be in the stadium 3 times. That's a lot for me.
That's a lot for you.
So I work.
Trying to think. I had another take about the game. We're not coming up till later in the day, but I'm hopeful that the weather at least is cooperative. That's the other aspect.
It's supposed to be decent. It's early. It's supposed to be decent.
You know what's weird?
Don't be like your cousin. Bring a coat.
Nah, bring a coat. You know what's weird? This like it because it's so dark at State College early. Like 3:30 also would have technically been like basically a night game. So
yep.
I didn't really even think about that. So there's that. Name of the website is called StuffSummerSays.com. On that website, there's a section called With
Steve.
Perfect. 5 stars, thumbs up. Appreciate that. We might partake in some capitalism next week and put some stuff on sale.
Look at us. Good.
You know,
need some Christmas gifts. That's great.
Good Christmas gifts. So we'll do that. Thumbs up. Appreciate Leah joining. Email. Mine's Darian at StuffSummerSays.com. Steve says.
Steve at StuffSummerSays.com.
Perfect. And lastly, you can find me on the internet at Stuff Summer Says. You can find Steve
at Steve Samsel.
Yeah.